When a captain ordered a bridge from scrap, what his carpenters created, it sounds like a fable, an impossible command born of desperation. Yet on December 16, 1944, in the frozen heart of the Ardennes forest, it was a stark reality. As the German spearhead of the 1st SS Panzer Division rolled towards the vital crossroads of Bastogne, a single, frail bridge stood between the American 101st Airborne Division and disaster. That bridge over the Orthe River at the hamlet of Habiamont was a death trap prepared for demolition. With German panzers just miles away, one officer looked at the splintered ruins of a nearby warehouse and saw not wreckage, but salvation. He ordered his men to build a new crossing from the debris. What they constructed in the gathering winter darkness would become a legend of ingenuity under fire. The strategic situation was catastrophic. It was the second day of the German Ardennes offensive, the Battle of the Bulge, the 101st Airborne. The Screaming Eagles had been rushed forward in trucks to hold the critical road junction at Bastogne. But to get there, they had to cross the Orthe River. The only available bridge at Habiamont was a narrow, steel girder structure already wired with explosives by combat engineers. It was a bottleneck of nightmare proportions. Hundreds of vehicles, trucks, jeeps, and towed artillery were backed up for miles on the icy western approach road, their headlights piercing the fog, creating a perfect target for the Luftwaffe. The German vanguard, the infamous Kampfgruppe Piper, was known to be thrusting hard in their direction. Every minute lost at this bridge could mean the encirclement and destruction of the entire division before it even reached its defensive positions. The man facing this logistical nightmare was Captain James J. Hatch, commander of Company C, 326th Airborne Engineer Battalion. A former civil engineer in peacetime, Hatch was responsible for the movement of the entire 101st Airborne Division train. As he surveyed the chaos, the math was simple and terrifying. Sending this column, vehicle by vehicle, over a prime demolition bridge would take hours they did not have. A single German plane or a lucky artillery shell could destroy the bridge and strand half the division. The weight of thousands of lives pressed down on him. He needed an alternative, and he needed it immediately. His eyes fell on a shattered lumber yard and a damaged warehouse adjacent to the riverbank. A mad idea took root. 1600 hours. The short December day was fading into an icy blue twilight. The temperature plummeted. Captain Hatch made his decision. He countermanded the demolition order for the main bridge, a colossal risk to allow the vital 101st Division Artillery, the 301st Glider Field Artillery Battalion, to cross. But for the endless line of soft-skinned support vehicles, he had another plan. He assembled a handful of men from his company, not combat engineers in the traditional sense, but carpenters, plumbers, and electricians by trade. Their tools were not explosives, but saws and hammers. His order was breathtaking in its simplicity. Build a second bridge, right next to the main one, using nothing but the scrap lumber from the destroyed buildings. Pause. The site was a scene of organized bedlam. German reconnaissance planes, Fieseler Storch observation aircraft, droned overhead in the gloom. The distant dull thump of artillery grew steadily closer. The men worked under the glare of truck headlights, their breath forming thick clouds in the cold air, their hands quickly going numb. They salvaged heavy timber beams, floor joists, and planks from the wreckage. There were no blueprints, no engineering manuals. This was building by instinct and sheer necessity. Sergeant Harold Whiteman, a master carpenter from Ohio, took charge of the construction detail. He directed men to lash beams together, with rope and nail planks across them with furious speed. The sound was a frantic, pounding cacophony of hammers against the backdrop of revving truck, engines, and shouted orders.
Meanwhile, the main steel bridge groaned under the weight of the division's heavy guns. Each 75mm pack howitzer that crossed felt like it might be the last. Engineers crouched by the demolition plunger, their eyes scanning the skies for enemy aircraft. The pressure was immense. At any moment, the spearhead of Kampfgruppe, Piper, a force of Panther tanks and veteran SS, Panzer Grenadiers, could come crashing down the road from the east. Captain Hatch moved between the two sites, a calm center in the storm, coordinating traffic, urging his carpenters on, his mind calculating the relentless advance of the enemy clock. The crisis arrived just after 1800 hours. As the last gun of the 321st cleared the main bridge, a frantic report came from forward reconnaissance elements. German armored vehicles had been sighted less than 5 miles to the east. They were out of time. The order was given: prepare the main bridge for final demolition. The support column, still hundreds of vehicles long, now had only one possible path forward, the makeshift wooden structure taking shape in the dark. But it was not finished. The final section, spanning the last 20 feet to the far bank, was just a skeleton of beams. There were no guardrails, the planks were uneven, and the entire structure trembled ominously under the weight of a single jeep. It was, by any standard, unsafe. To send a convoy of heavy 2.5-ton trucks across it seemed suicidal. The column was trapped, caught between a bridge about to be blown and a crossing that looked like it would collapse into the icy Artha. Was then that Captain Hatch and his carpenters made their legendary gamble. Instead of trying to finish the bridge to standard, they embraced its roughness. Hatch ordered the vehicles to be lightened. Drivers and passengers were commanded to disembark and cross on foot. Every piece of non-essential equipment, spare fuel cans, personal baggage, extra rations, was thrown from the trucks to reduce weight. The carpenters, working now in near total darkness with only a few flashlights, did not stop. They nailed down the final planks, not for perfection, but for pure function. Sergeant Whiteman took the ultimate test. He climbed into the cab of the first 2.5-ton truck, a GMC CCKW. Pause. "Follow me, and keep moving," he is reported to have said. He put the truck in gear and inched onto the wooden span. The timbers creaked and groaned, with a sound that sent chills through every man watching. The truck dipped but held. He kept a steady, slow pace, never stopping, distributing the weight. He reached the far side. A collective held breath was released. It could be done. A system was born, one truck at a time, crawling at a snail's pace. Drivers white-knuckled at the wheel, guided by engineers shouting directions just inches from the edge. The carpenters stood on the trembling bridge with hammers and nails, ready to make instant repairs after each vehicle passed. It was a continuous rolling act of maintenance and faith. Through sheer willpower, they turned a pile of scrap into a vital artery. For 8 critical hours through the freezing night, the scrap lumber bridge held. It bore the weight of an entire division's support train. Over 200 vehicles crossed its unsteady deck. The last truck rolled off just as the first gray light of dawn touched the horizon on December 6th. Minutes later, with German advance units almost in sight, the main steel bridge was demolished with a thunderous roar, collapsing into the Artha River. The 101st Airborne's route to Bastogne was secure. They raced ahead and dug in, arriving just in time to form the iconic defensive perimeter that would hold against every German assault. The creation of the Habamont Scrap Bridge had no official designation. It was never on any map, but it saved the 101st Airborne's mobility and crucial support elements. Captain James J. Hatch was awarded the Silver Star for his inspiring leadership and resourcefulness. The men of his Carpenter detail, especially Sergeant Harold Whiteman, received Bronze Stars and commendations. Their actions were a masterpiece of improvised engineering, proving that in moments of ultimate crisis, intellect and courage could be as decisive as firepower. They built more than a bridge. They built a lifeline that helped secure an Allied victory at Bastogne. This was just one of countless untold stories from the Second World War.